Welcome to Illuminates by Meritto. Today, we are here to shed light on a topic that is of great interest to our audience. But before that, let me introduce myself. I'm Shahbaz, and I'm a problem solver for education organizations like everybody else here at Meritto is. Meritto, as you know, is the operating system for student recruitment and enrollment. What we do is magic, but if I have to put it in words, we automate everything from inquiry to enrollment. We have over 1,000 plus customers across globe, which includes higher education, K-12, study abroad consultants, and edX. So without further ado, let's move for today's topic, which is decoding the UAE's higher education landscape, trends, techniques, and transformations. So let me introduce you to our fellow panelist, Dr. Christopher Ibrahim, CEO and Head, Dubai Campus, SP Jain School of Global Management. Dr. Pons Silvan, Director Research, Head of Faculty, Head of School, Science and Engineering, Curtin University, Dubai. Dr. Ajay Shukla, Managing Director, Middle East and India, Global Study UK. So welcome everyone to the panel.
Thank you.
So can't wait to start today's discussion. So my first question is for Dr. Christopher. SP Jain, as we know, is one of the premium B schools across globe. So my first question for you is, how do you see the enrollment landscape evolving in UAE education institutions, especially in global management schools?
Great question. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. I think the story goes back almost 23 years. So post 9/11, there was a tremendous opportunity. Of course, that was a tragic circumstances, but there was a tremendous opportunity for Middle Eastern region, especially with Dubai as the hub. And that's when Knowledge Village evolved, which metamorphosed into the academic city. And today, as we speak, we are talking about a student population of about 30,000 plus and still counting. So over the years, there's been a rapid recognition from a perceptual perspective in terms of UAE as an educational hub. It never used to be. It used to be a tourism, a hospitality, a retail hub, but never ever did anybody conceive it to be an education, especially a higher education hub. But interestingly, what has happened is that, number one, the visionary, I would say, policies of the leadership, the openness in terms of inviting global excellence to the country. And in the process, we have some of the biggest names across the world who have set their presence in Dubai. Right from Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, UAE has a number of schools across the world, including SP Jain, of course, setting up our campuses here. So what we have given is a global flavor of academic excellence, inviting people. The second interesting point is, I would rate this, I've been here for the last 27 years, it's probably one of the safest, most secure places from a parent/student perspective. Touch wood, I've never seen any big challenge, any clashes or any kind of violence here. So it's a very safe place. And so, of course, parents and students would prefer a place which has less of these kind of challenges. The third dimension is, of course, the inclusivity, the appreciation of tolerance, inclusivity, acceptance, 206 nationalities, embracing an acceptance and tolerance for different religions, different faiths, different cultures. I think these are some of the key factors that have probably transformed UAE as a destination of choice for higher education. And we stand vindicated. Last 20 years, it's been a glorious experience being here. In fact, for the record, our global journey started with Dubai, UAE, and then Singapore, Sydney, London, all that happened after. So those would be my opening remarks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Christopher, for sharing your thoughts. Oh, thank you so much, sir. So we know that, SP Jain started from India, it started from Dubai. And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, right? So I'll, pass on the same question to Dr. Silvan. So, sir, tell us about Curtin University and the global presence of Curtin University.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you all for joining this webinar.
Curtin University is Western Australia's largest university and is known for excellence in education, innovation, and research. We have campuses in Western Australia, Malaysia, Singapore, Mauritius, Dubai, and now in Sri Lanka. We have 6 global campuses. Curtin University Dubai campus is located in Dubai International Academic City. Curtin Dubai is offering programs in engineering, IT, cybersecurity, business management, psychology, and web media and marketing. About ranking, Curtin is ranked one of the top 1% universities worldwide in the highly regarded academic ranking of world universities. 2023, we are 183 in the world as per QS World Ranking 2024. Second in the world, number 2 in the world for mineral and mining engineering, ranked in the top 50 universities globally for geology, geophysics, and earth and marine sciences in the QS World Ranking. Curtin is also proud to be one of the only 20 universities in the world to achieve QS 5 stars plus rating, the highest available for tertiary institution. And Curtin is the only Western Australian university to have achieved QS 5 star plus rating. In Dubai last year, KHDA, the Knowledge and Human Development Authority, released their star rankings of higher education institutions in Dubai. And despite it was the first time the Curtin Dubai became eligible for ranking, we received the highest 5 stars. So we have a lot of reputations. Thank you.
That's really great accomplishment, right, sir? That I can see. And I can see the pride on your face also, when you were explaining the accreditations and everything, right? So which brings me, to Ajay, sir. Yeah, since he has been guiding a lot of students in their career and to select their career path. So from a consultancy perspective, sir, what do students who wants to pursue their, graduation or any set of degree from UAE should look for?
Thank you. First of all, thank you to Meritto, Shahbaz, and the team to organize this very important seminar. And the topic is quite interesting to the educator community. And welcome all to who have joined this webinar today. So from a student counseling and career guidance perspective, what we notice is when students are choosing UAE as a higher education destination, they are looking for some of the things that my esteemed panelists, Professor Christopher and Professor Ponselvan, have mentioned, but for the sake of answering the question, quality is very important to students. And what I want to say is that higher education by its very nature is a global business. It's not like school, which is a neighborhood business, or nursery, which is like a walking distance business. So all universities have to compete with their peers, not only in their home country, but globally. Because the student has a choice to go to US, UK, Canada, Australia, India, wherever they can find options. So the signaling of quality is very important. And thankfully, KHDA has instituted the star rating process, which we use in terms of how we guide and counsel students. Apart from just the pure rating system, the university's own reputation by way of faculty who are teaching there, the accreditations that they have, not necessarily only, let's say, the ministry accreditation, but for example, business programs having AACSB accreditation. What's important to them is also local employability, because they are coming to the UAE not just to study, but they are also looking for employment opportunities. So they look very carefully at the graduate placement record, and some of those also are included in the KHDA star rating system in terms of transparency of information offered to students. They look for scholarships. They look for a competitive cost of education. And that's very important because they have an option to, let's say, go to Curtin in Australia. And unless, they see that there is a overall value proposition, the quality of education is the same, you're living in a, as Professor Christopher said, a safe city, the visa regime is very liberal, but at the same time, cost of education, total cost of education, tuition, living, and others is attractive. And it also offers a student life. Dubai is a place everybody wants to go. So, these are the factors that come into play in terms of the preliminary stage of when students are considering UAE as a study option.
Thanks a lot, sir, for sharing your view. That's really valuable for anyone, who is looking for UAE as an option. Also, which brings me to my next, question as well as a leading student recruitment automation platform, Meritto, right? We have seen and we have observed that every organization, small or large, faces some sort of challenges in student recruitment. So I would like, Dr. Christopher to answer this question, what unique challenges does SPGen face in student recruitment in UAE and how are they addressed?
Yeah. One of the things that we look for is quality, the highest, best quality students who have to join, because the program by default is very rigorous. My colleague said, we are also highly ranked in the global rankings, top 100 in the Financial Times twice, top 20 in Forbes, top 10 in the world in Forbes, top 5 Times Higher Education, Wall Street Journal. So the level and standard of education is extremely high. And we also need to have a global cohort because our programs are all global and international. So one of the biggest challenges we face is because we have an international student body coming from different parts of the world, to get them on board to come at the same level of the high quality we have is one of the big challenges that we face, because one could be language challenges, the other could be critical thinking challenges, third could be conceptual rigor and the ability or inability to cope with the conceptual rigor. So these are some typical challenges that we face from students across the world. I wouldn't want to mention any specific regions, but the broad understanding is that not everybody is same. They come from different streams, different backgrounds, different cultures, different educational qualifications. So one of the biggest challenges, how do we get all of them on board for a program that is recognized worldwide for its rigor, comprehension, and global outlook? It takes some time. So for us, the first challenge is during the recruitment process, where we have to invite a much larger pool, which actually runs into thousands. In fact, our admission rate is around 5%, sometimes even lesser than 5% of the total applications. We have about 200 to 300 seats for each program. So you can imagine the number of applications that need to be generated in order to get the creme de la creme. So it's not easy and definitely challenging, because the highest and the best quality students have to get into the program. And that's probably one of our biggest challenges. But over time, we've managed it, because again, it goes back to the rankings. The rankings happen because of the quality of the program, the quality of the faculty, and most importantly, the quality of our alumni. So I think in a nutshell, getting the right quality of students for this rigorous program is probably the biggest challenge for us. But we manage it, as I said, 5% of the total applications for 200 seats. So a very large pool from which we recruit.
No wonder, sir, you are so much, choosy, and I can see why my application was rejected, when I was applying, since 5% of the acceptance rate. But yeah, I'll get back to you on that, once I'll be having you on a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah.
So which
a cup of coffee is not going to get you the admission. You have to, make yourself qualified enough and relevant enough to get it. Cup of coffee, nice. We'll have it over a friendly chat, but that's not the admission process route.
I'm sure, sir, I'll work hard and next time. So, which brings me to Ajay, sir, right? How does, Global Study UK adopt its strategies to cater to the specific needs of aspirants, of students who want to study in UAE?
See, Global Study, as the name implies, is a global company. So we are located in many source markets, as we call them. UAE serves the Middle East. We have an office in India, in China, in Nigeria, and we have experts in US and UK and Canada who also sometimes co-advise students. But the most important thing is that when you're dealing with such a large number of students, I can talk about, for example, the UAE operation. At any point in time, it's actively engaging with 600 students. And we have 18,000 students on our database for current and future intake. It's a massive, challenge in terms of how to manage the volumes. Also, by its very nature, education counseling is a very personalized business. So, that's an additional challenge that every student expects, that they will get, a personal session with me or one of my expert counselors every 3 days. That's not usually possible. So how we manage this is by having a very structured process all the way from lead to advising to portfolio development to eventual application, which is quite complicated. What we have done is that we have put together a very, probably the world's only AI-driven student engagement platform that we called Student Advisor. It's also available as an app on the App Store, iOS App Store, as well as the Play Store in Google. But the most important thing is that it connects the students directly with their personal counselor. It also has a community of other service providers who may come in and out to provide specific services to the students. We start with a psychometric test, because it's very often that students also don't know what they want to pursue and what will they be good at, right? So we start with a psychometric test. We figure out what their learning style is, what they enjoy studying the most, where will they be happy, and eventually what kind of a career interests them. And that really maps back to a journey where we start suggesting destinations and universities and programs that would be a match in line with their aspirations and their attitudes towards learning and career goals. Thereafter, we do further research. We also encourage the students to do the research, looking at the admission requirements of the programs that we have commonly agreed. At undergraduate level, often we also bring the parents into the conversation, because they are very important in the decision, and we, they can see, what conversations have happened. We record everything on the chat, we record everything on the video, and it's all available on one platform for reference. And there is a journey tracker where we customize the milestones for the student. And as milestones are coming closer, we inform the students to do the following activities. Aside from this, in our community partners, we also have support by way of standardized tests like SAT, IELTS, TOEFL, where we bring in curated partners with a proven success to assist the students with these important pre-placement tests. We also offer boot camps and learning opportunities in various STEM areas like coding, artificial intelligence, robotics, data analytics, so that students know exactly what they would be studying and what does a career in these fields look like. We also offer internships and volunteering opportunities to students. And eventually, the idea is that we build such a powerful portfolio that someone with such exacting standards as Professor Christopher will notice that, yes, this is a student that really is very aspirational. He has worked over a long period to build a portfolio. And this is the kind of student I want to see in the SPJ in Dubai campus. So that's really our aspiration, that we want to make sure that we use a proper system and a very structured process driven by technology. This technology really helps, let's say, a counselor, instead of handling 20 students at a particular time, they are able to now handle 50 students at a particular time, because much of the system is automated. It also has an AI tool where you could ask a question, and before ChatGPT became fashionable, we had a plugin with ChatGPT to bring out some preliminary research about programs, universities, destinations, faculty profiles, which we can very quickly, curate and provide to our students what used to take weeks of research now takes only maybe half an hour. So being structured, systematic, and always keeping the students' interest and getting into the best place that they can be is what drives us.
Absolutely. So that's very nicely said, sir. Combining the, knowledge of your consulting along with the technologies, are key for any student to get the right set of guidance to any of the premium institutes. Now we have talked about, students, how, they can recruit to a particular university or organization. So which brings me to Dr. Selvan, right? So I want to ask, sir, how do you keep update of the course structure and curriculum at Curtin University? How do you keep it, updated as per the global standards? What is, as a student, that I can see that I would find from an advanced curriculum from a, premium organization like, Curtin or SPJAN for that matter?
Yeah. The entire curriculum in Curtin University has been developed by the partnership with top-notch industries in the world. We have a strong industry advisory board for every programs, not only in our home campus, but also in the global campuses. For example, in Dubai, for a mechanical engineering program, we have industry board members from Dubai Electricity Water Authority, ADNOC, Abu Dhabi Natural Oil Company, ASHRAE, which is a professional society, American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers, Road Transport Authority. So they're all members of our industry advisory board. Through our industry advisory boards, we give suggestions, recommendations to our home campus for any modifications in course structures and syllabus that are relevant to UAE market. So all our global campuses, including Curtin Dubai, follow the same course structure and syllabus that is followed in Australia. That's why we are able to give the same Australian degree in Dubai. And at any point in time, our students can transfer to any other Curtin's global campuses and graduate there. They can start in Dubai and graduate in Australia. That's possible. They can also do one semester in any one of the global campuses and then return back to Dubai campus. All that possible because we follow the same syllabus and course structure. Upholding the values and cultures of our home campus in Australia, we are committed to offer quality education and practical training to our students to bridge the gap between industry and university. Industry visits, guest lectures, professional society talks are frequently being organized. Apart from these, we have very vibrant professional societies on campus. For example, ASHRAE, SIPSI, Chartered Institution of Building Services Engineers, ASQ, American Society for Quality, Engineers Australia Student Society, Institution of Mechanical Engineers, American Society for Mechanical Engineers. All these societies, we have a separate Curtin Dubai chapters. Our mechanical engineering program is fully accredited by Engineers Australia. So as part of the accreditation, the students have to complete 480 hours of exposure to professional engineering practice. Our business programs are recognized by WACSB, Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business. So as part of this accreditation, our faculty members have to have the qualifications that meet the WACSB criteria. So we follow a very rigorous curriculum.
There is one question that I would like to ask Dr. Silver, right? So we have heard about sustainability. My understanding about sustainability is that your own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So which brings me to the question, right? Moving towards sustainability, what do you think higher education institutions in the UAE should accelerate their sustainability efforts?
Yeah, good question. The UAE government has announced 2023 as the year of sustainability. The United Nations Climate Change Conference of the Parties is also happening in Dubai this year in December. Right now, as we speak, the global mean temperature has increased 1.19 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial level. With the current rate of CO2 emissions, we have less than 6 years left before the global warming hits 1.5 degrees Celsius. After that, the climate change becomes irreversible. Our body temperature, we say 36 degrees Celsius or 37 degrees Celsius. If there is 1 degree increase in the temperature, we say we got fever. When we have fever, we can't do any work properly, we can't eat properly, we can't do anything. This is what has happened to the planet. The planet has got fever. This planet is not only for human beings, this is for all the species. Life on land, life underwater are important. We are losing the biodiversity because of climate change. According to the recent report from IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, children born today, when they reach 30 years of age, they will be living between the disasters because of the climate change. the frequency as well as the intensity of these disasters will be very high. That's what they say. Droughts, floods, heat waves, wildfire, bushfire, sea level rise, soil erosion, water shortage, food shortage, energy shortage, all these events will happen very frequently as per IPCC. So if these projections become reality, our future generations, our children and their children cannot live well. We cannot ignore these reports because more than 180 nations, more than 1,000 scientists participate in preparing these reports. Some study shows that in 2045, we will be producing 40% less food, and our population is going to be 9.2 or 9.3 billion in 2045. So if that projection becomes reality, the entire civilization, whatever we have built for 500,000 years, everything will break. There could be number of civil wars around the planet. And according to World Meteorological Organization, in 2050, 5 billion people will not have access to clean water. So if water, food are not there, what are we going to do? It is the responsibility of higher education institutions to teach and nurture our students. Since climate crisis is not part of the standard curriculum, academic institutions have to go out of their way to impart climate education. How the world will be tomorrow is determined by how we nurture our students today. Positive change begins with awareness. Awareness empowers people to act. So we need to create that awareness. That should be our first step. The first step in the right direction is the most important step. It is in the hands of higher education institutions, not only in UAE, but elsewhere, everywhere. So Carton is very active in teaching sustainability related topics. For example, if you Google, you will come to know the best universities to study petroleum engineering in Australia is Curtin University. But as part of the sustainability UN's SDG goals, we are going to stop offering petroleum engineering. We don't want to teach anything related to fossil fuels. We don't want to do research. If somebody is going with petroleum engineering research, no funding is given there. So that is what we are doing. Even in Dubai campus, Curtin Dubai campus is a plastic-free campus. So all the higher education institutions, not only in the UAE, but everywhere, should accelerate their sustainability efforts. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. I think it's a combined effort, and it starts with the education organizations, where we have the future in their hand. Right. So like you rightly said, having these things in the curriculum, awareness and guiding them, what is the future that holds for us is something, that will make us aware about this and will help us to take the correct measures. So before we, go ahead, I'd like to pick one of the questions that has been asked by Mr. Benjamin, right? So, and I would request Dr. Christopher to answer it. So he has asked, what can higher school students do to help elevate the quality of learners as they prepare themselves for higher education? What are some of the new trends?
Sure. I think a very important question. And I think there are two parts to it. One is, we'll continue to remain human in a world of AI and ChatGPT and robotics. Having said that, so does that mean we ignore technology? No. So on one hand, we learn to be good, relevant human beings, and I'll explain what I mean by that. And on the other hand, we are prepared technologically to be ready to take on the challenges of the world. So there are two parts to it. One is the neurobiological part, where the human brain, the human body, and all the human systems are geared towards making us better. For long, we have obsessed with what is wrong with human beings, almost 100 years. And now there's a new movement, thanks to neurobiology, neuroscience, positive psychology. We understand that we can change our mindsets. So the key word is mindset. So we need to train our students on the right mindsets. And according to Stanford professor Carol Dweck, we all have what's called a fixed mindset, which means I can't change, I can't grow, to a growth mindset. And at the global level, there are corporate case studies of companies that have transformed. So one is to become a better human being, understanding, and this has to be imbibed, this has to be, translated into learnings for students. For example, we run a Center for the Science of Happiness, and we recently won a $500,000 grant from an American foundation to run programs for the community. And when I say community, school children, school teachers, school leaders, college students, college community, and of course, the corporate and the larger community. So what we need to bring is that big message that we all have a brain that can tune itself, because our human brains, ironically, are tuned towards negativity. So we need to train them to rewire our thinking towards positivity. That's number one. Number two, we all have great qualities of resilience, great qualities of strength. So we need to shift our focus from thinking about what is wrong with us, wrong with our, I'm not against, knowing it, but knowing it and then preparing ourselves in a positive framework. There's plenty of research and plenty of valuable resources available to make ourselves better. Now, let me come to the second part. The second part is the technology bit. Now, there was an advertisement a few years back from a telecom company where a little kid is born and, the doctors are hesitating to cut the umbilical cord. The little kid, it's just an exaggeration, but it probably tells us what we need. So the little kid borrows a mobile phone, the newborn baby, and then says how to cut the umbilical cord and then cuts it herself. So that's the kind of technology we are trying to embrace. So students today, youngsters, are quite tech savvy. But more important is how relevant is that technology? So Professor alluded to ChatGPT. There are many such tools that we can use. For example, SPJ in itself, is known as a business school, but you might be surprised and probably delighted to know the last few years, we have also become a tech plus business school. So we run an award-winning data science program in bachelor's. And this program, in fact, the undergraduates from the program move on to jobs which pay more than MBAs, so data scientists. So technology is going to play an extremely important role. And this is not just pure technology for technology's sake. It's technology in the business sphere. Similarly, we launched a program called Masters in Artificial Intelligence in Business. Again, it's got huge takers because today you need AI, but you need AI in business. The reason I'm using these two examples is that because today we need students who are human, who understand human values, who understand human strengths, and also are tech savvy to use the latest tools for that. The third interesting part, which again is very important, in our time, we never had these resources. So we had to go to libraries. We had to, go through a whole, I would say, voluminous grind of work before we could find out what we want. Today, the world of knowledge is available at the stroke of a keystroke. That's number one. Number two, there are a number of free resources available right from the apps that Dr. Ajay alluded to learning resources like Coursera, edX, Udemy, so on and so forth. These are all available. So let's say, for example, I'm a business student. There's nothing to prevent me from exploring AI. There's nothing to prevent me from looking at robotics, right? It used to be compartmentalized. And we are moving from that compartmentalized education to what we call multidisciplinary, multifunctional education. So what we need is to prepare our students to say, the first thing, again, I'm alluding to Dr. Shukla, who said psychometrics. So there are today powerful tools that can tell us what careers children should be groomed for. And let's be honest and brutally honest here. It is not the whimsical wish of a parent that this is what I want my child to be. It has to come from the child as to what the child is, passionate about. And there are tools available to do that. And that's the first good news. In fact, I have 3 kids who are now grown up. We have allowed them to explore what they want to explore. In fact, time permits, I'll share that. The first story is actually a case study where we wanted him to do something else, but he went and discovered something else. And today he's a PhD in financial engineering because that's what he wanted to do. We thought he'll be an architect. So I think we need to give that space to the students. That's number one. Number two, parents should be part of that decision-making process to actually complement students on that. And the third important thing is there are many resources available and facilitators like Dr. Shukla's company, and of course, counselors in our own universities like Curtin and SP Jain, who can guide these children. In fact, I tell my admissions team, don't force somebody for business if he or she is not fit for it. They should go on to pursue what their passions. And I think that's a very important thing. So being human and also understanding relevant technology, having access to the latest, let's say, training and educational resources, these would be the steps in the right direction. And we'd be very happy to partner with schools to guide them on this pursuit.
Absolutely. And, since Ajay sir, you might also be facing, all these questions from students, parents. Right. So, sir, I wanted to understand, your thoughts on the same question. What can high school students do, to help of learners as they prepare themselves for higher education? And what could be the new trends? Because you keep on interacting with
Yeah.
parents, students. So I'm sure you also, might be having a lot of questions, right? Where like Christopher also sir also said that the parent want the child to become something else, but he or she might discover, something else while, in this grooming path. So your thoughts on the same, sir?
See, unlike in the past, a generation past, where you woke up to the reality of moving from K-12 to higher education when you finished your class 12 exams and you sat for a few competitive exams where parents told you to sit for, with luck and maybe luck in my case, I went to IIT. I don't think I can qualify for the exam now. You made it, and it was a very arbitrary kind of a career path. Things have changed dramatically. The first mega trend I want to talk about is that the mind of the students and even the parents is no longer about the institute that they have heard about or read in the newspapers, or uncle or an aunt told them about it, or some successful person in the family went there, so you have to go there. All that is gone. Parents and children are acutely aware that the choices in terms of careers and study options are now a lot when you consider the whole world as your oyster, right? So that's the first and most important thing that we encourage children to have, is to expose themselves early. Let's say as early as grade 9 and 8, we start working with students. Obviously the psychometric tests that we all spoke about. It is an incredible tool where we are able to, bring differing perspectives uh, on the same platform. What I mean is that when the student has attempted the psychometric test, for example, when I bring the parent into the same conversation, it's not a us versus them conversation anymore. It becomes a conversation that, okay, this is where the student has the best interest. This is where they can succeed. This is their learning style. These are the careers that they are very excited about. Now let's all work together to help this child succeed. It melts a lot of these, clashing ideas, and it becomes very student centric. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I see is that students must explore a lot early while they are in school, outside the school curriculum, to really determine what it is like. I'll give you an example. This will probably illustrate it better. A very bright math and science student was looking for a career in computer science and more around. I'm very excited about coding. We said, okay, that's great. If that's what you want to do, why don't you go for this Cambridge University's STEM boot camp focused on coding? The child went there, and then he suddenly realized that coding is not about, just learning how to write code, have the, algorithms, and something cool comes out of the screen and an app is developed and you're famous. It's actually a lot of math. You have to go through data structures. It's a complicated subject before you can really progress there. So, gave a reality check. Now, just imagine if that student, he would have probably got into a computer science and IT program anywhere, very bright, but would have realized that the university curriculum and what it involves in terms of a career is very different from what they imagine. So I always encourage parents, school counselors, and students that you know you have the leeway of time. If you're in grade 9, you can explore a lot of these opportunities and then determine exactly what a career or a higher education program looks like in this area of interest, and then we can come back to how to prepare you for it. The final point I will mention is that you know fulfillment is life is not always about uh, how famous you are in career. how you are the highest paid person in your batch. It's also about human values, which Professor Christopher also. So it's very important that we place the student in some of these experiences as well. So we have a volunteering program where students in the UAE are working with an NGO worker in Ethiopia to bring back students who have dropped out of school back into school. They're helping the NGO worker do the analysis, sit in the interviews, make observations, make suggestions on what really led to this situation. And then they realize that they are in a position of privilege. There is a wider society that has a lot of problems to be solved. And, some of them actually become so passionate that they want to change their discipline. No, I want to get into the social sector. I don't want to be into the traditional sectors anymore. So developing the human as a whole, if that's the philosophy with which we approach students and the educators, and always keeping the interest of the child in mind, I think that's really, what I would like to advocate to everyone who's on this call and my fellow, esteemed panelists, that, it's let's not push children into something that we think is good for them. We have to help them discover.
Absolutely, sir. And we all agree with that, right? And I can see a lot of questions that are flowing in, right? And we'll answer them, whatever we can answer in our capacity during this session, right? So before we move, right? So I have one question for, Selvan sir, right? What actions, sir, you think that students in higher education institutes in the UAE should follow to, support sustainable practice and initiatives?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, we are approaching a dangerous future because of climate change. Students of higher education institutions are the important stakeholders of the future. They are the ones who are going to stay longer on this planet. Therefore, they are the ones going to face greater consequences because of climate change. As future leaders, future scientists, future engineers, future politicians, their energy, their passion, their dedication is what will make a difference. Students should become conscious about the danger that's happening. Population is growing, human population is growing. Population is the big elephant in the room. We are all nice people, but we are too many people. Not only the population increase, the consumption pattern also has increased. The entire humanity currently consuming approximately 1.7 planets equivalent amount of resources. That means we are overconsumption is happening. We are currently consuming on a living stolen resources from our future generation. To accommodate 9.8 billion people in 2050, if the business is going as usual, we will require 3 planets equivalent amount of resources. Even if we go to Mars, that's not sufficient. So not only UAE students, but everybody on the planet should act for the sustainability practices. Climate change is a global problem. A damage conducted in one part of the planet has global consequences. Due to political reasons, economic reasons, we have borders and boundaries. But the atmosphere is common to all the nations. Since everybody is on the planet uses energy, water, materials, everybody is responsible for climate change. So everybody should act in climate change corrections. If our students, if we and our students do the right things now, in the next 15, 20 years, we can fix everything. But if we allow this to progress like this for another 20, 25 years, and after that, the damage will be irreversible. That much loss of biodiversity would have happened that time. So each student in the higher education institutions should act as a sustainability ambassador. Today's social media is there. Each students will have contacts with WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, all these social medias. They reach 100 people, one student, and those 100 people reaching another 100 people, each 100 becomes 10,000, 10,000 becomes 1 million, 1 million becomes 100 million, 100 million becomes 0.1 billion. So we can reach the entire planet. So if we love our future generation, if you love our children and their children, we need to act very quickly. Otherwise, nature will act in a very cruel way. We cannot fix an yesterday, but we can make it tomorrow better. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. So also one thing, Ajay sir, that I have noticed, and one thing which is unique about, UAE is, a lot of expats, are there. When I talk about the local population, it's less as compared to expats, right? So there are 70 to 80% of people who are coming across globe and, they are coming to UAE and, pursuing their careers or, their education. So with, the question is, with an increasing number of international campuses setting up in UAE, how do an institute differentiate themselves in the enrollment process?
So that's a great question. And I think I'll put a little further context before I answer it. For a small geography, I mean, the total population of the UAE by any estimate is around, say, 10 million, which is half uh, the population of, let's say, a big global metropolitan city. There are cities which are, 20 million. And here we have more than 105 university campuses in such a small geography and such a small population. Obviously, competition is intense in terms of attracting students. I will just talk about three things that that differentiate an institution from the other. Who does a university serve? It serves students. It serves its partners who are helping them get students. It serves the employers. It serves the broader society in terms of its research and societal contribution impact. So to be to differentiate, it's not just working on one thing. You have to differentiate yourself in multiple areas to be attractive to the communities you serve. But let me speak to the constituency that I know best, which is students. How do you serve them best? I think students expect a lot of transparency about the institution and what outcomes are they able to prove in terms of the employment, career success, the quality of the program, reputation, testimonials of students, and anything that differentiates them in terms of their student centricity and the programs they do by way of improving student life in addition to the educational experience. So, these are very important factors to differentiate. Now, when does a student experience the university, right? In most cases, it's they go to the website. They're not going to walk into the campus. They're not going to come to your open days. It's only a few students who will make it. So, what does your website look like? Is it student friendly? Is it got, clutter of information? Does it have a good, easy place where I can chat and ask a question? Is there anyone who will, I can leave a form with and somebody will call me back? Do they describe the programs properly? Are there student testimonials on the site? Do they publish their accreditations and licensures? Do they publish their quality ratings? Do they publish the profiles of their instructors and the areas of teaching and research where they have excelled? When you see this versus a dry site where, this is who we are, this is our campus, these are a few pictures, and drop in your inquiry and we'll try and get back to you. So the whole student experience, we have to map it every minute of the journey to say that I want to make it the best possible experience for the student. For example, a number of universities have started implementing chatbots where you can't man your website 24/7, but at least you get an intelligent answer back. So use of technology. Then there is the issue of timeliness. Competitiveness is not only about having the best product. Sometimes it's about agility, that how fast can you respond to your customers. That also is a competitive advantage. And that's where I see a number of universities lacking in effort. And sorry to say, the problem is even more acute in selective campuses because they are inundated with more applicants than they can admit. The response levels are very low. But let's talk about general universities. I'll give you a statistic that with every 6 hour of delay in responding to a student inquiry, it halves the chances of them actually staying interested in your university and program. That is the market expectation today, that if you take 24 hours to get back to a student in an intelligent manner or an inquiry in an intelligent manner, it's half of half of half of half already in terms of your chances of actually enrolling the student, because they may have gone somewhere else and they may have connected and already started their journey by then. So these are a few examples I would like to say that agility, transparency is very important to students.
Absolutely, sir. And even we have experience with our 1,000+ partners that education is all about consulting, right? So to give the right set of information to a student to take correct action or take right set of decisions in their career, it's very much important to leverage technology, like you rightly said, some chat bots, and also to have some tools that can give them runtime information. Because even if I talk from UAE perspective, the students are coming from various geographies. Since we are talking about how organizations are differentiating themselves, right? And we have seen a lot of collaboration nowadays with institutes, right, for student exchange, or for dual degrees, or for different internships in different geographies, right? So which brings me to a question for Dr. Christopher, how important are collaborations between local and international institutions in shaping the UAE's enrollment landscape? What is the trend so far? How many students come and all those things.
Yeah. So as you know, all our programs, except the executive MBA, which is location specific, our undergraduate programs, are data science programs. All these are multi-campus programs. So we have campuses in Dubai, Singapore, Sydney, Mumbai, London, and God willing, next year in Silicon Valley. So our students have an opportunity, and it's not, let's say, by choice, but mandatory. So for example, our first year undergraduate students start their first year in Mumbai or Singapore. All of them come over to Dubai for the second year. Third year, they may go to a partner institution. So I'm going to answer that question. And the fourth year, they go back to Sydney, Australia. So over time, what we have developed is this large portfolio of international partnerships from across the world. And these are the likes of the IE Business School in Spain, the ESSEC in France, the school in Sweden, where we have the Rotman School in Toronto. So you have these top-notch schools where we have partnerships. And these partnerships are not just about student exchange. It's also about faculty joint research. It's also about joint projects. So the whole range of things we keep doing. And the ultimate test happened during COVID. So during COVID, it was more of a matter of compulsion that we needed to forge these partnerships in a much more meaningful way. So now imagine, I just waxed eloquent about Singapore, Dubai, Sydney, and all of them were stuck in their respective places. And we promised them a global, intelligent experience. So how do we get a student from Sydney to experience France, experience Canada, experience Africa? So that's where, again, technology helped us. We have an award-winning technology called ELO, which stands for Engaged Learning Online. And through that, we connect with communities across the world. So the only thing that we missed was the touch and feel of going to a physical place. So if you're in Singapore, you would. So for example, all our education is all about these experiences. So when a student comes to Singapore, when he or she goes to Dubai, they are not just learning in classrooms, they are learning almost 50 to 60% outside the classroom, which includes culture, which includes business, which includes economics, which includes the practices, the business practices. So they are immersed in those different cultures. So coming back, so international partnerships help us to do that even better. It complements the global learning experience. So because of the international partnerships, students get to meet with, and that's a huge thing. Think about this. We have about 35 to 40 nationalities in our student community. A student typically coming from, say, India, for example, say any particular state, is very comfortable in his or her comfort zone. So we deliberately push them into student groups where you have a Russian, a Chinese, a Brazilian, and an Indian. It's not going to be easy, but that's how the real world operates. So international partnerships, in more ways than one, actually create what Harvard calls global intelligence. It's a word born out of Harvard research, which says, in an increasingly global world connected by technology, you need to create globally intelligent citizens. And these citizens then metamorphose into managers, into leaders, into business owners, into entrepreneurs, into impactors, influencers. So you need to have that global mindset, that global intelligence. So international partnerships, apart from the traditional student exchange, faculty research, also is about creating globally intelligent communities. And I can, in all humility, tell you that during COVID, we had our students working on socially relevant projects with communities across the world without any face-to-face interaction, because we were forced to stay back in our communities. It was awesome, the power of collaboration that can come across, and because of the diverse ideas. And this is an interesting thing in human psychology, that when you're cornered, when you're pushed into a corner, you tend to bring the best out of you. We never realized it. We said, oh my God, this is amazing. And these students were able to forge partnerships with student communities in different parts, which we would have never even imagined. So I think it's a very, very exciting time to be, thanks to technology, thanks to all these challenges that are coming, which are now bringing out the best in all of us, including our students and professors, and of course, the larger community.
Absolutely, sir. And,
Well
since
said.
you have a lot of experience, so which brings me to a sub question to this part, what advice would you offer to a new educational institution or, consultants who are, venturing into UAE market? So more specified to, educational institutions. For consultant, probably, we'll have Ajay sir's remark on the same question.
So you want me to start and then Dr. Ajay?
Yes.
I'll
Yes.
give you that. Okay.
Go ahead.
Philosophy of life is learn, unlearn, relearn. So whether you're an academic institution, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a student, whether you're a parent, it doesn't matter. You need to continuously keep learning, unlearning, relearning. Unfortunately, many academic institutions are still in 19th century. I don't want to name names, but that's the proof of the pudding. You need to be agile. You need to be nimble, and you need to be anti-fragile. So 3 words I've used: learn, unlearn, relearn, nimble, agile, and anti-fragile. That's it. You have to keep moving, keep doing, keep innovating. Otherwise, you could get redundant. It might sound like a warning, but I think we need to wake up, right? Over to Dr. Ajay.
Yes, I think there's not much left to expand on what Professor Christopher said. For new institutions or student support companies like ours trying to enter the UAE market, must realize that, number one, it is a competitive market. As I mentioned earlier, 105 campuses in such a small geography serving just 10 million people. Obviously, all the institutions are looking at bringing more international students than just relying on domestic supply. But if that was the reason, then, I'm taking an example from the corporate world, no disruption would happen, because everybody would say, somebody sent a shoe salesman into Africa in one country and nobody is wearing shoes. So the first company's salesman said, there is zero market for shoes there. And the company said, okay, if they say so. And a competitor's shoe salesman said, my God, it's an ocean of opportunity. Nobody wears shoes there. I can make $1 million, make me the country manager for that particular country. So this is what I would say, that, competition is a reality. And so long as you have differentiation, so long as you carry the values that Professor Christopher just outlined, about, being agile but not fragile, and, having a certain competitive advantage to what you're doing, there is room for everybody. But I must say that, if we were to rewind the clock 15 years ago, just about anybody could enter the UAE and somehow find their way and make money and, be successful. Now the standards of educational institutions, particularly in higher education and even in K-12 and consulting companies like us, are world-class. So you are not going to be successful if you do not bring world-class offerings here, whether it is by way of your programs, your technology platform, your go-to-market strategy, your brand. Unless you are world-class in all the areas or vectors of success of a business, you are not going to succeed. You can't say that, okay, looks like there is a lot of activity in the UAE, looks like students can pay, let me also put an outpost there and see. It is not going to succeed. You have to come with full conviction, with full investment, and bring world-class practices. Then there is room, definitely room for you.
Very well said, Ajay sir. So, Professor, Pon sir, so I would like to ask you the same question only. What advice would you offer to a new educational institutions, right, who are venturing into UAE market based on your experience, and what would you suggest them?
UAE, particularly, they are focusing clean energy, renewable energy. Mostly the oil and gas industries. UAE has a clean energy strategy for 2050. So the market demand, they have to first identify, and then accordingly, I think, as Professor Christopher and Ajay mentioned, that's very important.
I can see a lot of questions has been answered by Dr. Christopher and Dr. Ajay and Dr. Selvan sir. So thank you so much, sir, for this. And in the interest of time, I would like to take Eddie from this, right? So thanks a lot, everyone, for joining this. That was around 40 plus years of experience in UAE market in one frame. So thank you so much for all the panelists, Dr. Christopher, Dr. Pon Selvan, Dr. Ajay sir, right? And the audience who have been so patiently listening to us. And thank you for asking such a wonderful questions. The session was really insightful, and I'm sure, we'll have more such sessions and insights on UAE market. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, Shabazz.
Thank you, Shabazz.
And
Thank you,
for the
Professor
questions
Selvan.
for the very, very enthusiastic audience.